Guys, in general, have a harder time getting touchy-feely, so this is good.
We'll support you.
No, but for real, that's actually the theme I wanted to open up with today, is just really understanding what feeling is. If we say that I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel tired, we say it all the time. We use the word I feel. It just slips right in there. And but if we really stop and look at how amazing it is just to feel, then it starts to get really fascinating. So I like to differentiate between what is being felt. I feel tight, I feel this, I feel that, I feel pleasure, I feel whatever it is, but then the feeler, and you're the feeler, and in a way, as the feeler, you're formless. It's like consciousness is what is feeling. It's not necessarily nerves that are feeling, or the brain that's computing this information that we're getting through our bodies. Think of it as, in a way, you're just pure consciousness, completely awareness in and of itself. And it's awareness that feels, awareness that becomes aware of your body through feeling. So if you think about it, even though it's physical, it's actually extremely spiritual. To feel your body is to commune with your body. And the word commune comes from, communion, union. Yoga is union. So you think of yoga as a practice of communion with yourself. And the practice is to get really good at feeling. Really feeling everything. So for example, let's close our eyes. And if we see it from an observation, standing back and just kind of looking at what's going on, it seems like all these separate things. Like, you can feel the music. You're feeling the music through your ears, and perhaps even if it touches you emotionally, you're feeling the music in your heart. You can feel my voice. You can feel gravity. You can feel the temperature of the room. Maybe you feel some areas of discomfort, or maybe you feel just kind of good today, or you're feeling all these things that, if we list them, they seem separate. But what is the unifying factor is the feeler, you. You're the one feeling all of these supposedly separate ingredients at the same time. So the feeler is the yoga master. Think of it that way. We're transitioning from being a doer, somebody who's doing something to our body in a kind of piecemeal fashion, to a being that is feeling and experiencing it all at once. It's the ultimate glue to your experience. So let's feel the breath. You don't have to change it, just notice your breath as it is. You know for sure that you're breathing, or you wouldn't be alive. So start by just noticing what your breath is already feeling like. And then let's just go a little step further and start to deepen our breath, not in an abrupt way, not all of a sudden start to take big ballooning breaths, but just ride that next inhale in a little bit deeper, so you know that inhale's coming, and just let it stretch even the slightest bit longer, so you feel your lungs expanding a little bit more than the last time. Exhale, a different kind of stretch, kind of riding out of the exhale and emptying just a little longer. And then feel how it naturally turns to inhale. And that inhale can be a little bit more abundant. And how it rounds into exhale. And that exhale can ride out a little longer. So it's like, the visual I get is like somebody on a swing. When you're just getting going on a swing, your swings are not quite as big. And you just add a little bit of momentum. You kick your legs out when you go forward, and you pull them back as you swing back. So you're not going from no swing to full swing. Every swing gets a little bigger. So what we're doing is generating an authentic deep breath. We don't want breath to be work, in other words. It's not work. Breath is pure bliss. And every breath, deeper still, it's like you're showering, you're bathing your insides with light. But you don't want to flood yourself too fast. Now, as we keep that practice going of just making the breath gently stretch itself at its extremes, inhale a little bit more, exhale a little bit longer. As we keep that going, we're going to start to take the same kind of approach with our physical body here as we come forward to our first stretch where the hands meet the floor in front of us. Even if you're flexible, and you can go to your elbows, or you can go to your forehead, this is already a stretch. I call it the whisper stretch. So we want to be with the whisper stretch and realize that it's not that not a lot's happening. So much is happening, but we have to resensitize to the subtle. So breathe. Really become hyper aware of the subtle sensation of spreading in the tissues, wherever it is, your low back, your legs, your hips, your knees. And then if it feels inviting, you can venture further, treating every little millimeter like a mile, and venture deeper and deeper. So the everyday mind is understimulated by slow motion. It can be boring. But if you recognize that you're feeling so much right now, there's never a dull moment. You just have to know what to look for. Tightness does not originate in the body. Tightness originates in the mind. So we're going to purposely find little tactics to melt that rigidity of the mind. So one way we do that is we take a posture and we purposely break out of it. So in this sense, we're going to go over towards the left leg. And we're breaking out of that posture, realizing that posture wasn't a fixed form we were trying to stay inside of. And now what we've done is we've opened up a whole playground here. So you go over to the left leg, notice what happens on the right side of your body, your right hip area, the ribs. Maybe even slide that right hand a little further forward and accentuate the length. And breathe with that. Your breath is a nonverbal statement that says, I want to feel this. I want to feel this in HD, great detail. And then we're going to open up even further on the right side by leaning directly to the left. So if you're sitting at a medicine wheel, you're leaning on that line that's directly to your left on your hand, or maybe even the elbow, depending on what's more restful. And then slide that right hand to the left, directly to the left, until you accentuate that lengthiness on the right side of your body again. But this time we combine it with the rotation. That entire arm, shoulder, and side of your body floats up and over the head. Something about this combination of motions, you got the reach and the rotation, can potentially send us spiraling into the heart center. Visualize this heart center, the home of the feeler. And reach inward. Even though it looks like we're reaching out, we're reaching into that deep, infinite source inside of us. It's like there's a wellspring of life and vitality inside of us. The body needs that even more than food. Tap it. Tap that well and let it just nourish your whole body from the inside on the winds of your breath. Sounds are welcome as we release. Now we're going to take a relatively long journey hovering over that right leg is our next stop, and we're going to just let that right hand return to the floor. And as we pass through the center, kind of soft crisscrossing of the hands as we journey It all depends on the receptivity of your tissues. You may be facing the right leg and more in an upright position. You may be even draped over that leg. It's however far you need to go to get sufficient stimulation. And just breathe. Be the feeler feeling. The feeler is infinitely relaxed. Communion with self. Authentic healing. It's not some fancy technique. It's not some far off thing. It's actually the most natural thing in the world. Then we're going to let it blossom even more on this side, leaning directly to the right, supported by the right hand, maybe the right elbow. Now place that left hand on the floor just naturally in front of you and start to slide it on the floor to your right as though it's like an airplane taking off the runway. That creates the length. Think of that as ingredient number 1, which is seamlessly blending with ingredient number 2, the rotation, the arm, shoulder, all of it floats up and over. And you're mixing the 2 ingredients to taste. You're the master chef here. Play with different combinations of reach, rotation until you get that feeling of deep inner reach that goes way inside. Touch it. Meanwhile, that left hand just softly spreading like the blossoming of a flower that's being kissed by the sun. This is not stretching. This is embodying yourself. This is deeper than stretching. Inhabit all your cells, down to the marrow of your bones, the tips of your fingers, follicles of your hair. Breathe. And then take a nice ride back down. The movements between are the massage strokes, like a deep tissue massage. We're only going to be in this cross-legged for a little bit longer. Once we arrive at the center, deep breath on your hands, elbows, wherever you're most relaxed. Now think of your voice, your throat, as a transformer of energy. You don't have to sound, but I really want you to feel free to explore that. The letting go, the release takes stuck energy and transforms it. That's not for everyone, but please, within reason, let that release happen. We're going to slowly sit up. Arriving in the center of your medicine wheel. Deep breath, spine stacked. The arms float off the ground, hands radiating forward. You're always reaching fully in the direction of your fingertips reach and sweep it from forward to upward. When you get to the upward reach, stop, pause here, touch that, deep breath, and let the arms go to the floor behind us, brushing that back edge. This is the important part. As your arms fall down to the floor behind you, the hands land. We're going to recline back and let the legs start to unwrap themselves. Go super slow though. When you slow down, it's like you're making it extra important. Feel all the sensations of the backs of your legs beginning to open up and breathe. And then like you're getting your legs for the very first time, reach through the heels, reach through the toes. Flex your legs. Imagine how thrilled you would be if you didn't have feeling in your legs your whole life, and then suddenly, by some miracle, you got it back. Imagine how thrilled you'd be just to feel your legs. Even take your hands to your legs and palpate them with your hands. So in other words, we can stretch our bodies without actually getting in first. So get in first. Find out what's already in there. Then we have the option of venturing forward. It's very basic. Just start to come forward. More or less with a tall posture, which focuses the openings into the back of your legs. Now this is not something we're trying to reach the toes. Let your hands rest in your lap. Let the feet go. This is not about that. If you call it a stretch in your hamstrings, you can hear just how, kind of blah that description is. So let's throw away that description. This is not stretching the hamstrings. This is meeting yourself. You're meeting a very, very deep aspect of your body here. Don't label it. Just meet it. And breathe. Be the feeler feeling. Just as an experiment, as part of our resensitization process, we're going to practice some fine-tune adjustments. I want you to back away a millimeter, very tiny bit, and feel the difference. Back away a little bit more. Tiny amounts. I could look right at you and not even see these adjustments, but you can feel them. And then do the same thing moving forward, just a millimeter or a fraction of an inch forward. Start to fine-tune adjust here. So if you know that you're in charge of this, nobody's doing this to you. You're in charge. You don't have to be wading through a gritty sensation. If it's at all gritty or making you wince on any level, that's your indication that it's simply too much. Just back away until the ow becomes an ah. Good. With everyday consciousness, everyday awareness, it just looks like a stretch. And then we just wait. Don't wait. Recognize it's continuously morphing, it's continuously changing and transforming. Where awareness goes, nothing ever stagnates. So be aware of how it's changing. The sensation, maybe it starts to turn into a buzz or a tingle, and maybe that buzz and that tingle starts to grow in intensity, or maybe it starts to dissipate and you feel the urge to sink in further, or maybe it intensifies and your body says, hey, back up a little bit. You're in constant dialogue. That's why there's never a dull moment if you're paying attention. Good. So how does it feel different now from 2 minutes ago when we first entered? We want to gain deeper access into the depths of our tissues without forcefulness. We want to feel the genuine invitation. But we can't choose when that happens. All we can do is really stand at the doorway in respect and with breath. And when the body says, yes, come in, enter, then we go. It's a whole new way of relating to the body. Now let's start to back away intentionally, exiting this particular form, but do so in a seamless fashion so there is no abrupt change. Just that feeling that was stretched starts to dissipate until we're resting back on the support of the hands. The stretch feeling is gone, but something remains, and I want you to just sit with that feeling. I feel it as a kind of coolness, spaciousness, a really pleasant relief and release in the tissues. How would you describe it? Just tune into it. We've got some options. If you feel, you've practiced with me for a while and you want to introduce more heat from the get start, you can stay with your straight legs. Otherwise, if you want to intro yourself more gently, flatten your feet first, bend your knees. Either way, we're all going to float upward. Pelvis leaves the ground. seat leaves the ground, and you float only as high as it feels floaty. As soon as it starts to feel lifting or pushing or forcing, I want you to pause, back up a little bit, relax. This rising motion should feel like a smile, not a furrowed brow. And keep the face relaxed, keep the breath deep. The body can float. Good. Be the feeler. Even if you feel a heaviness, be the feeler feeling the heaviness. The feeler is light. The feeler experiences herself as ultimate lightness. So you kind of just soften that face, soften the brow, almost smile, and meet that quote-unquote heaviness with a deep breath. Good. And then we're going to set it back down. Once we've landed back on the seat, the hands leave the floor behind us as supports and arrive once again in the lap. There is no lifting going on. Something still remains. What is that? That tingle, that buzz. We've been all falsely trained and conditioned to think that the body needs this full frontal attack. And in that, we've gotten desensitized. We've been numbed. We don't really need to do a lot at all to bring vibrant life back to the cells. So if your feet aren't already flat on the floor, start to slide them back, let the knees bend. So hands going to the floor behind us again, like you're hanging out at the park or something here. Just totally relaxed. And bring your attention into your belly. Feel your belly in its relaxed state. Deep breath. Now, we know that our hands are eventually going to leave the ground, but there's a huge transition just to get the hands off the ground. Let's slow that down. The hands are starting to get lighter and lighter. And notice the immediate takeover of your tummy, your core. As the hands get lighter, your hands cannot leave the ground unless your tummy tightens. Get that feeling and let the hands leave the floor behind you and just naturally float to your sides. Be the feeler, feeling this. Just as an energy that exists in your body, specifically in the core area. Just be friends with it. Relax the brow. As the feeler, you are infinitely bigger than all that you are feeling. And that's what true strength is to rest in that expansive state. And just hold. It's like you're holding yourself right now. You're just holding this energy. Commune with it. Breathe with it. Sensitize to it. The reason the body deteriorates is because we are masters at objectifying the body. We don't realize that we just are. We become that. We take that on. So you can also think of this as a process of no longer objectifying yourself, but really taking care of yourself. Really hold yourself, being kind. The body has become ossified, tight, stiff, numb, and we're unnumbing. Let's let the hands or the arms wrap around the legs or return to the floor behind you, wherever you feel most relaxed. Again, the active aspect goes away. The core is no longer flexing, but something remains. Feel it. And the breaths are still very abundant, full, but relaxed. Good. We're going to float off the legs again, arms at our sides. Now, since we've taken that step of being kind to ourselves and not being imposing on the body, now we've established a little more trust. Feel free to venture further the second time as an option, just to explore. You can do that by leaning back more, leaning back. Sometimes as a side effect, the heels leave the ground too. Your legs can go even as far as straight if you want. But what we don't want to ever compromise is that feeling of spacious ease. As soon as it starts to feel furrowed brow and you're starting to wait for it to be over, that's when you know you've gone too far. You just back away a little. It's a very fine line between not enough and too much. Find that magical zone where the heat is present. There's warmth, there's stimulus, but you're not oppressed. As the intensity grows, let your breath grow. And then the feet will return to the floor again, and the arms to the legs, or the hands to the floor, wherever you're most relaxed. And we'll just let that ring in the silence. Good. Good. It's very much like chewing your food. If you just, eat fast, the food just kind of goes through you. You don't get as much from it. Think of these pauses as we're chewing our food. Everything we generate in our bodies is like food, and we're just letting it permeate the cells and really get integrated. And every time we go in again, we're wiser than before. So arms are gonna leave the legs again one last time. And remember, you're in charge here. You can keep your feet on the floor. You can bring your feet off the floor. You can recline. You can lean forward. However you want to do it, all you're doing is introducing enough. And this time we're just going to bring in a little bit of fluidity. Turn to the right. And as you turn, change your shape that way. Notice now where you feel it, where you weren't feeling it before. And then watch it change as you float from the right to the left. So we're trained in thinking of strength as stiff, tight, rigid, forceful. Think of stretch as relaxed and fluid, sensitive. Let's come back to the middle again. This time when we come out, we're going to cross the ankles, bring the hands on the floor in front of us, and in slow motion, everything is slow motion. It's like every little movement you make is the best thing that ever happened. And bring the hands and knees in a nice, even, equal placement. Hands below the shoulders, knees below the hips. Visualize your bones and rest upon them. Let everything that can relax, relax. So that'll appear as your head hanging in gravity, and the middle of your torso is kind of sagging towards the earth. Imagine falling asleep here, being that relaxed. Let the breath flood in. And bring attention to the pelvic floor, the perineum gently flexing to bring a kind of anchor to the energy of your spine. And then start to draw your head up. Remember, there's no such thing as a small movement or a short distance, especially when we slow down. So the head starts to rise. And in this beautiful journey, the bend in your spine deepens and deepens, and you increase it until it's just deliciously thorough from the top to the bottom. Take a nice deep breath. Your breath and feeling go hand in hand. Good. Now let's purposely break out of the rigidity of the posture in the mind. We're actually going to purposely move around it. Keep the bend in the spine and just move forward, back, left, and right. Remember, there's no such thing as a small motion. Every little movement can be felt. So feel it. And when we move around, we give our body the message that this is not a rigid thing. This is not a fixed thing we're trying to emulate. It's organic. It's natural. Come back to the middle. Visualize that bend in your spine, and let's slowly, deliciously, sensually shift it to the other side. The head and the tailbone are dropping. The back, in between, spine starts to round up towards the sky. You start to draw your chin towards your chest. There's whispers of that core flexion again as the pelvis curves under and rounds even towards the chest too, pressing against the earth lovingly, and feel your shoulder blades spread apart. Deep breath. Again, now keep that curve in your spine. Just move around a little bit. Break the mold. These postures are organic, alive. Good. Come back to what feels like the middle. How do we know it's the middle? Because it's that space where everything is equal. The hands and knees equally support, and therefore it's the most natural, easy space. And then we're going to let the belly drop and the head rise again, and synchronize that motion with an inhale that peaks as the head reaches its highest point, and then seamlessly rounds into exhale again as the head drops. And we round the back towards the sky, and we inhale, belly drop, head rise. Imagine your body, your spine, as big as the Nile River. And your whole body as big as the earth. Just every movement is this massive wave that ripples through your body. It's like when we slow down, we become bigger than we were before. The movements become more therapeutic than they were before, less mechanical. So I want you to see in your mind's eye the wave that's rippling through your body as a wave moves through water. The water just moves up and down. It looks like the waves are moving forward. But really, the water is just moving up and down as the wave passes through the water. So think of this the same way. Your body is the water, and you're creating this wave that goes through your tailbone, up your spine, and out your head. You are designing this wave, just as you are feeling this wave. The more detailed, the more therapeutic, the more healing, the more sensual, the more medicinal. So this is a great way to get started in waking up the truly dynamic, alive spine. But then this kind of leaves out a whole range. The sides of your spine starting to get jealous. So we want to start to touch into the sides of the spine. This is where we just start to break free a little bit more. Your hands and knees are fixed, but your spine, torso, shoulders, pelvis, everything free to move and twist and turn and bend in any way you please. Let it be improvisational. You don't know what's coming next. Just go. Remove the filter of the mind and actually let your body show your mind, not the other way around. Usually it's our mind informing the body. Let's let the body inform the mind. The mind takes the witness role, and you just go. There's a part of us that believes we have to be told what to do. We have to have a plan when it comes to the body, but that means we could never dance. There would be no such thing as dancing. Or making love. There's a whole way of being with the body that's more vital, alive, unfiltered. You want to remember that right now. Good. And let's give our wrists a little break now and just retreat back to the heels. There's an aspect, however, of the mind that's observing the physics at all times, and we notice always our weight distribution and how our weight, as we change our shape, our weight distribution shifts. Therefore, the areas of emphasis and massage shift. As we sit back on our heels, notice where it goes. You feel it in your hips, your low back. Rocking left and right while we're in a child's pose is a really, really awesome way of getting the hips all nice and juicy and happy. Traditional yoga, or at least the yoga we've been used to, it's kind of like a regimen sort of style. You do A, B, C, D, and E, and then you can say you did your yoga practice. This is really different. This is not a regimen, but a continuous, again, communion. That's the medicine we're going for. In a way, it really doesn't matter what we do, just that whatever we're doing, we're completely engaged, enjoying. Think of it as a vehicle for expressing love to yourself, and in that, the ultimate medicine is applied to your body. Otherwise, we're just doing things to our body, and that just doesn't really do much. So let's emerge slowly out of this guy again. Pass through the hands and knees. And keep going now to softly lay the pelvis and belly upon the floor and rest on the elbows. And slow journeys are better. Resting on your elbows is all you need here. And that introduces the curve in the spine. Now, if you're not sure if you're feeling it or what you're feeling, just start to grow a little taller via pressing the elbows down in the earth. Shoulders kind of drop away. You grow a little bit taller, almost like a sphinx kind of posture here. Until you feel that curve in your low spine. And let it be just about that. Simple, easy, but deep. And let the tissues that surround that low spine, the low back, let them start to breathe. Let them start to dilate, open, melt, de-ossify. Really think about this now. The feeler is feeling. Where do they actually meet in time and space? Where do the feeler and what is felt meet? And what is the quality of that meeting? Are you resisting on some level? Do you have your dukes up? Are you going there but not really going there? You got to ask these questions all the time. And right now, if you feel any kind of resistance, that's where the breath is so brilliant. Because it's hard to keep your dukes up internally if you're breathing. So to breathe is to say, I'm ready. I'm ready to meet myself. I'm ready to invite myself back home. I'm ready to end the war inside of me. That takes bravery of the heart, because it is the ultimate version of intimacy. That's yoga. So all that said, you can see the absurdity of just calling it a stretch. That description does not suffice anymore. Have things changed from where we were when we first entered? And if so, is your body perhaps asking for more? Is it appropriate to dig in a little deeper? Does your body feel like it's gotten a good dose and wants less? Should we ease up a little? You're always updating to the current information of your body that your body is giving you. And seeing as we've been here for a while, it seems almost insensitive to just fly out of it, right? So we want to back away in a very kind way. It's like another way of expressing love to yourself, to your body, is to back out of this room in the temple with honor, with kindness. Don't just turn your back on this room and walk out. Back out. Slowly. Let your pelvis leave the ground. Let your elbows turn to hands. Walk the hands backwards. There's a lot going on right now in this transition. As you sit closer and closer to your heels, what's happening there in the low spine now? What's happening in your core? Feel the spreading sensations that start to appear in the back, the low back. And what's different with this child's pose, instead of the face going to the floor, our face is going to our own knees or our lap, which means there may be a good foot or so of space between the thighs and the face. That's okay. It's just the direction that we're going. And it causes us to curl on the front side and squeeze just a little bit, which opens up the low back, low sacrum. Deep breath. So much more than the postures, what your body is receiving is your attitude, your intention, like a chemical release in your body that speaks of kindness. There's a whole biological and chemical aspect to this too. And think of it as we're really releasing the good stuff from the medicine cabinet here. The body comes with a special code of access, and it's as simple as love, kindness, respect, honor. And when we approach with that way, the medicine cabinet unlocks, and now we're bathing in those good healing medicines. Now we're going to come to hands and knees again. Reintroduce that fluid motion again. Reminder. A moving reminder. When we move improvisationally, when we move without a plan, we become creators. And creation not so much coming from us as much as through us. So move without a plan. You're the performer and the audience at the same time. Good. And when you feel nice and loose and juicy, we're going to bring in our first twist of today. So let's go really ultra sensitive here to bring that left hand right below the chest face area on the floor and start to slide your right hand up the track of your left arm. In order for that hand to reach the shoulder, you've already had to twist there at the low spine. Now as the hand journeys across the chest, almost to manually draw the right shoulder back, you're introducing that twist into the upper spine, and then let the arm spring out of the heart like a geyser. Lots of water pressure. but not stiff or tense, just joyous, powerful. Your fingertips are alive with that reach. Don't settle for lazy hand. Go all the way to that hand is spraying out too. Deep breath. Inhabit yourself. And then let's weave that hand. We've got a long journey here too. Let's take that right hand now. Weave it under the left arm. So there's a space there, an arch under the left arm. We want to place the back of your right hand on the floor underneath that arm and just keep sliding that hand. As your shoulder gets closer and closer to the floor, we're introducing another twist in another direction until we can rest on the shoulder and the head. And we're going to stop right there and breathe. Just feel what's already there. Then if it feels necessary and inviting, you can press that left hand on the floor to leverage the ground and get a deeper twist, or even send that left arm up to the sky or around your back or over your head. Remember, there's no separate parts of the body, so the arm's direction has everything to do with what's going on inside of you, deep in the chest. Feel the roots of your arms. Good. Deep breath. Good. Then the untwist is just as medicinal. Bring that left hand back to the earth. That's your support. The right arm starts to slide out in slow motion. A very different kind of sensation. When we move out of the twist, it's like releasing the constriction, and there's a subtle flood and rush of fluids and energy in and around the spine. Want to just feel that a moment. Ooh. Right hand becomes your pillar. Left hand starts to travel up the track of your right arm. Feel the journey as your left hand travels across your chest, opening the faucet at your heart. And let that water pressure be what lifts the arm to the sky. Good. Beautiful. Deep breath. And ride that next exhale out as that hand meets the floor and we slide a little further, shoulder eventually meets the ground. But we pause there. Let gravity be the force in charge. Oh, good. And then really asking internally of your body, does she need more twist? Do you feel like it's desirable to venture further? Go for it. Like a loving massage therapist who's not afraid to really go there, but is also being kind to the client. You don't objectify the client, so why would we objectify ourselves? Good. And let's let the right hand meet the earth again. Don't miss this awesome subtle sensation by moving too quick. As we slide out, and you release that constriction. Bask in that nice fluid rush through the spine and spinal area. Give one more round of fluid motion. Speak of freedom in the spine. Everything we've done up until now has been off of the feet. So when we start to venture towards being on our feet, we're introducing a whole different ingredient into the mix. We start by turning the toes under, which starts to open the soles of the feet to the light of day. That's worth pausing with and just feeling that. Feel your soles of your feet opening, decompressing from all of our shoes, years of cramming our feet into shoes. Deep breath. And then start to consider bringing your knees off the ground. This is where we start to introduce heat again. As the knees start to leave the ground, something else comes in. Feel it, chest, arms, core, wherever you notice it, legs. It's a really awesome full body posture here as we arrive on hands and knees. We've got openings all over the place, especially the backs of the legs, ankles, calves, that whole area back. But also we've got lots of heat stirring in the body. Feel the arms, chest, core. Breathe. Move around a little bit. Break the mold. The mold is in the mind that says a posture is a fixed entity, and we're purposely rebelling. Then even if the knees have to bend, we're going to scooch the hands backwards towards the feet. Now, if at any point you just can't transfer from hands to feet, you can, however you do it, come to standing and then arrive in the hanging. But we want to, one way or another, be on our feet, and at the same time, from the waist up, we're dangling. Arms dangle, head dangles. And you're really just relying on the support of your bones. Good. Think about gravity. Think about the earth. Think about the direction that gravity is pulling you. And imagine surrendering completely to that pull. And then start to travel to the left to cover more ground when we give ourselves some wiggle room. So going over to the left side. And feel all those aspects of your legs that would have gone untouched. Thorough. Through the center to the other side. Feel the massage stroke across the back of your legs and hips. Now arriving on the right. And then gravity will draw you back to the middle again. Once we arrive at the center, let the arms hang, let the head hang. Deep breath. Then when we stand up, treat it like the very first time you've ever stood consciously. Just go very slow. Feel the whole ride. There's no wrong way to do this. Process of standing can be like a massage. And enjoy that feeling of arriving and standing where your bones take over completely and you can just rest. And so just keeping the eyes closed, which makes the balance a little more precarious and therefore heightened. Feeling every little waver of your body, every little sway. And all we're doing is feeling the feet on the ground. We're not relying on the postures to keep us engaged. This is a different approach. We're engaging in what's already happening. So we're just standing. No big deal, right? But you can go way in depth right now into what it means to stand, to really feel it. Really feel your feet on the ground. Consider the impact of standing on the earth energetically and what that feels like. And you feel the pressure on the soles of the feet and how that evenly disperses across your bones and tissues. The way your head rests on the top of your spine like one of those bobbleheads. Arms hanging at your sides. See this as energy rising in your body, almost like hot air. See this as energy rising. Now, as we bring our hands to our hips, you can do this eyes open or closed, but as we bring our hands to our hips, we're going to consciously solidify the legs, slightly gripping toes, and flex the legs so they really feel solid and supportive. And then start to press the pelvis forward. And what we're doing is taking that energy that's rising up our bodies and channeling it really intensely to the front side of the body. When I say intensely, still manage that edge so that you're not overwhelmed or dying to come out of it. But we're going to go there, which means the gaze starts to turn up and a lot of energy appears in our body. And I want you to try to be relaxed with it. Don't endure it or resist it. Just really let it open you up. Rest on your heels. And when you draw yourself slowly back, we do it without rushing. And everything is contrast. Now, in contrast to that really powerful pose, come back to the ease of standing and just let that energy course through you a little bit. Chew your food. It's all contrast. We know hot because we know cold, and vice versa. We know up because we know down, up, down because we know up, and we know slow because we know fast. All of these things, all contrast. We're utilizing that contrast. So now, straight legs versus the bending legs. So we start to let the knees bend. So as though you're sitting straight down. Now sometimes that can yield to kind of leaning forward, sticking your butt back. We want to try to avoid that. It's just like, imagine an invisible stool and you're just sitting down on it. That's all. Let your knees bend until you feel the distinct energy that starts to generate in your body. Again, think of it as an energy. Think of it as food. And your breath is how you assimilate and digest as you go. Otherwise, you're just kind of waiting to come out of it. And then that defeats the purpose. So we've really got to go into this with the right mind. If you were a container, like a battery that can hold so much voltage or so much energy, think of this as turning up the voltage on yourself, but your capacity is not fixed. You can start to grow. Every breath, you're able to hold more voltage, more energy. If we resist that process, we tire out, we burn out. So in other words, the warmth, the heat is requiring you to grow. And we start to let the arms float up too, and the arms are rounded away from each other, elbows rounded away, fingers rounded towards each other, a little space between the fingers, this symbolizing our container and also very practical in generating this chi in our bodies and around us. And then let's enjoy the contrast. Slow motion straightening of the legs, arms slowly fall at our sides, and then as soon as legs go straight, we're back to structural support. All the soft stuff of our body relaxes, all the muscles soften, and feel the after effect. It really doesn't take a lot to turn this body up in its voltage. Another way we can play on our feet is to elongate on the vertical plane. And that's just a fancy way of saying reach up. Go up. That's all. It's just a going upward. If you can, to the tippy toes. If you can't leave your heels, that's okay too. You can still embody that feeling of elongating yourself. Now it's about the energy of levity. Levity we think of as the opposite of gravity. But there is no levity without gravity. So you're experiencing both at the same time. Obviously the downward pull of the earth, but also the lightness that brings you off your heels or brings your arms up into the air. As soon as it starts to feel like you're trying, relax a little. Take the trying out of it. And then we're going to let the heels softly return back to the mat again. Arms fall at our sides, and again, contrast. Come back to complete non-doing. Good. These amazing vehicles of our bodies. So big. Imagine yourself standing really, really, really tall right now. If it helps, keep the eyes closed. Forget about the way we usually see things and dimensions and feet and inches and all of that. Just let that go for a minute. Let that soften and really feel yourself as tall, standing on this earth. Godlike, goddess-like. Let's bring our feet all the way together. And as the feet unite at the base, make sure they're lined up. So the heels and the toes and all of that. Good. I know I keep drawing a contrast between everyday yoga, the yoga we're used to, and what we're trying to do, because it's important to see the difference. We're used to thinking of balance postures as challenging your balance. Go to one leg and do something difficult. But if we take the difficult out, balance still exists right now. None of us are challenged to balance, and yet we're actively balancing. And that's all this is just to feel every little detail that you can of your body's being in the field of gravity. Every little swaying motion is perfect. We're not fighting the swaying motions. We want those swaying motions because that is organic balance. Balance is not to be a statue, rigid and stiff and unwavering. Balance is always current, always updating, always revising. Balance is relaxed. So I'll go silent now and I want you to just be with this feeling. All I'm asking of you is to stay here. Don't let the mind wander away. Keep your mind engaged with what you're feeling and even seeing it. And just simply enjoy the simple, profound pleasure of balance itself. Standing meditation. Asking yourself if it's possible to relax even more. And in closing, just really recognizing that our culture is our conditioning of how we are with the bodies and in reality really separates us from everything. We feel separate from each other, we feel separate from our environment, and we just want to consciously, as we're wrapping up here, imagine those barriers dissolving. This if you think about it, this idea of inside of me and outside of me is actually an illusory boundary. It's an imagined boundary. There really is no inside or outside in a sense. And it's not that we're on the earth. We are the earth. It's not that the sky is above us. The sky is right here. We got to start dissolving all of these things that create the separation. Identify them and dissolve them. So we start to feel more at home here on earth. That's yoga. So just feel the earth beneath you as your body, as an extension of your body as an extension of the earth. When you breathe, it's like you're connecting the sky to the earth. You're dissolving that rigid boundary between inside and outside and communing with just everything. And that's where we'll depart today. Namaste.